Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Now in today's video I would like to discuss in regards to the occupation of childcare center manager and childcare worker, whether or not this occupation or this program or courses of study could still leads to permanent residency. It's a very big question mark. Now why is that? Because due to end of last year and early this year there has been a major changes, and also as you know there's been change of the skill assessing authority for childcare industries, and the requirements and criteria for occupation and the skills has been raised up into a certain point. Now in today's video we would like to discuss whether or not it's still viable that studying a childcare services diploma could actually lead to permanent residency, or if it can't, how are we gonna tackle it? Okay, so first, let's go into the immigration's website. So I always refer people to this website, and you could actually Google Home Affairs skill occupation list and you should land yourself on this immigration web page. So the page is actually giving you out all the occupation that is available for Australia immigration, and in which category visa that is viable for lodgement. So here I've put in the search engine of child, and it basically brings up the following. First one is the childcare center manager, as we discussed, under the ANS code 134111, and it looks like you can actually access to every single type of visa application and ways or pathways to permanent residency. So because it's currently under a medium long-term skill list, so through 189 independent state sponsor 407, all that down here, it's actually meeting all the criteria you can lodge there. Now we will further going into the skill assessing authority to find out whether or not and how you can actually get this skill with a positive result. Now the second one is childcare worker under ANS code 421111. Now this one is only under a regional occupation list. Now what does that mean? It's not like the center manager where you could actually access to all type of visa and pathway to permanent residency. The only way you can do it is through 494. Now I'm not going to talk about 187 because that's a dated old legislation, so you can't do that anymore. You can only go through 494 currently. So we will go and talk about how these occupation you could actually gain skill assessment and get your qualification correctly. So the assessing authority is ACECQA, so XCA. I don't know how to read that, but anyway it's a short form, and I'll take you to the actual website now. So the website here you can see, let me adjust the video screen. So as you see, it's at the top left corner, Australian Children's Education and Care Qualification Authority, so the short form is ECA there. Now how do you use this website? I'm going to teach you, so we don't not to go through every single, well, if you have an interest to go through every single pages you can, but the most important part is go through the qualification here, as you can see right in the middle of the screen. So the two things down the bottom is the main thing that we're looking for. So provisional skill assessment basically is for newly graduates, so you can lodge for 485 graduate temporary work visa, and then you can continue to gain work experiences. And obviously migration skill assessment is the one that you can actually get the final skill assessment with positive results, so that you can migrate further. Now we need to look at the detail of the criteria, how you can gain these one. Now the first one for 485, it's pretty easy. And it's very obvious. All you need to do is you get into a NQF approved qualification, meaning that before you study abroad, make sure you choose the courses and program or the institution that is within the SCA's list of schools, should I say. So once you graduated, and basically you will actually gain that provisional skill assessment and be able to lodge temporary graduate visa 485 visa. Now make sure you get that qualification. So obviously you need to graduate, and secondly, during your studies you need to gain at least 240 hours equivalent to 40 days of supervised work placements, and that you can get that. Now that's not the major one, because generally if you come to study abroad in Australia with a childcare services diploma, you should be able to get that 485 visa anyhow. But a lot of people want to know, now how do you go further? How do you go further? How do you get to the permanent residence? So here we go. Now this is just the supporting evidence of 485 visa. Now how do we go further is where we go to migration skill assessment page, where we show you previously. So there are two standards, one is obviously for manager and one for worker. So the differences between manager and worker, it's pretty basic. It's basically spells out. And worker basically work with the children. You're a group leader, should I say, leading all the kids and babies around within the center. Then the manager manages all these workers and supervise all the workers, supervise all the rosters. Now first thing first, if you're a worker, after you graduated, you need to gain at least 1 year full-time experiences in order to become to have a positive skill assessment. Now that's not hard, and that's all the jobs that you need to show that you have done all these. Now that is not hard. Now second one, if you want to become a manager, that's the hard part, because you need to get 3 year full-time employment. And how do one person graduated from childcare services diploma and straight away become a manager of a childcare center? That is a very, very big question mark. So, and that's why I do believe that is extremely hard, unless there is a new instrument provided and injected by immigration to actually help and lift the childcare industry there. So that's the hard part there, because if you don't get migration skill assessment, as you know from my previous videos, it's gonna be you can't even access to EOI, you can't even access to skill select, and you can't even do employment sponsorship no more. It's actually very, very hard there. Now let's go into, and so the question comes back here is, so what do we do if we really interested about childcare services and childcare works or careers? Now I'm gonna introduce another visa types that could possibly help you out, and which is under the subclass 407 training visa. So now this is not the ultimate way to help it out, because as you can see down here, the training visa obviously facilitate someone to gain more work experiences and skills. So a childcare center could simply sponsor workers to gain more skill and work experiences. But the problem here is that you can only go up to 2 years. So let's do the calculations. If you have a 485 graduate temporary visa, that's 1.5 years. Plus the 2 years, that's only 3.5. People should say, well, that should be enough. Now the problem here is, if we go back to the actual, if we just choose the simple one, not even the manager, let's go to childcare worker. Okay, as you can see, childcare worker here, the only visa that are accessible is 494. So let's jump into 494 visa here. Now 494 visa says here in the eligibility says here, you must have a relevant skill, qualification, and work experiences. So, and down here you need to get a positive skills, of course. Now we know that getting a positive skill assessment for a childcare worker is to have a 1 year full-time experiences, correct? Now that's done. So within that 485 visa, I can get that done. Now the problem here is this statement here, you must. Now it doesn't say you may or you could, it says you must. Okay, have complete employment, no Malaysian occupation for at least 3 year on a full-time basis. Now that's the problem, because 1.5 years plus a 2 year of a training visa and cutting out 1 year for the skill assessing requirement, you only got 2.5 years. How do you get 3 year full-time? How to actually access to 494? Now that is the biggest problem, and that is what I'm saying. If the government or the industry is urgent enough, they really need to think about getting into their council or association and lobby towards the government for help, unless the industry doesn't really need overseas skill to help it out. Okay, so if they even do that, they require for the government to actually intervene, just like the horticulture industry where they introduce a labor agreement and things like that. So without that, I believe it will be actually very, very hard for someone to actually come, study abroad, do a childcare services, and then get a 485 visa and then continue to go on. Now the ultimate way I may suggest is whether to utilize a further student visa, but you do not want to utilize a further student visa at the end of the 407 visa or 485 visa, because that's such a waste. If you do think about having an extended student visa, you might as well study diploma childcare services and all the way up to bachelor. Now bachelor will get you into early childhood teachers qualification. Now that's even higher, and that takes 4 years of studies, and that's a lot of tuition fees. However, bachelor, graduating with a bachelor will actually get you at least 2 to 3 years of 485 visa. That's double of the original 1.5 years, and that could actually get you further. So I believe that's possibly what the intention of government wants to direct the overseas students to go. But the criteria of studying, pulling out from 1 and 2 years, or 2 years to 4 years, it is actually much harder to actually convince yourself to do it, unless you could possibly do alternative to have your partner and your partner lodge another student visa. You become a dependent and you continue to work and gain experiences, and that's a whole of different ball game now. Anyway, that's the video today. If you should have any questions, leave a comment down below, and I will here to I'll be very appreciated if you could consider subscribe to this channel, so once we have more information, new updates, you'll be the first one to get it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.